Hi. Whoa, welcome to a stream about why everybody fails at going off grid. And I'm going to talk about that. But for now, I'm just kind of playing on my guitar that's out of tune, and the neck is warped now because of the heat and like sitting kind of funny. So it sounds like shit, unfortunately. Nothing that I can't fix, but right now it's not great. And also, I have not been practicing for like, I don't even know how long, man, because it's I've been busy on my off-grid homestead in the the off season. Holy shit! Actually, speaking of off-grid, my charge controller is blinking. What the hell's going on here? I don't like that. Whoa, shit! I'm actually just I'm gonna take you with me. PO2. Oh, what is happening? Okay. Yeah, so I don't have power, and I don't know what the fuck that means. I'm gonna have to look that up, and obviously I can't do that right now. Um, I'm live streaming. That's weird. Turn on lights but I'm using this Eco. So that EcoFlow that I have there is like just barely enough to run the things that I need until the sun comes back up. Chris Bandit says keep losing stream. What's is the stream shitting out? What's going on? I'm gonna make a little energy drink. I make my own energy drinks. I don't know if y'all can hear me. We're okay now. Okay. Is it just you or is it? Oh, okay. It is happening. Okay. Yeah, that sucks because I'm on my phone. Oh, I am on my phone Wi-Fi. Let's see if the house Wi-Fi works any better. Hold on. I might cut out here. I don't know why. Okay, it says low quality. That's annoying. That's super fucking annoying. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna make an energy drink. I've been making my own energy drinks lately because I like energy drinks, and they're a fucking like they're a scam, man. Like I don't know. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're an adult. You can buy a fucking tub of straight caffeine and add it to whatever the fuck you want. Like literally whatever you want. You can make a mocktail and just add caffeine to it, if that's your vibe. Saves a lot of money. How much is an energy drink? It's like $4 now, $5. That's insane for a fucking drink that I'm just gonna slam in like 2 seconds. Like, fuck that. So yeah, here, just oh shit, I got way too much. I'm like Tony Montana with caffeine. And I got my dollar store drink mix. And you can get whatever, like literally whatever the fuck you want. Like these are just dollar store flavors inspired by TikTok. I'm gonna do Cosmic Superhero because I don't know. That's how caffeine makes you feel. Like, stop buying energy drinks. It's a fucking scam. Like, are you kidding me? And like, I don't know about you, but I want to have like a couple of caffeine beverages a day. So like a $10 a day habit. Are you fucking crazy? Hell no. And you could make like health potions too. Like you can, like sky is the fucking limit. But anyway, like literally, you can just add caffeine powder to anything you want and make it an energy drink. There you go. That's my PSA. Cause I like Celsius, and then I was buying like instead of actually buying the Celsius in a can, you know, because it's like $3-4 for that. I discovered that they make like the drink mix packets, and then I use those for backpacking. You know, like I'd always have those Celsius in the packets in my backpack because they're easy to carry. You just add water, saves the fuck money, and like fuck, I'm gonna carry a bunch of cans of liquid in my backpack. Like fuck that, absolutely the fuck not. But anyway, I'm this this is kind of unrelated, but also not, because it's like when you're, I think I need to adjust my my microphone to something. Where the fuck is it? Here we go. Because with all the fans and the generator going, it's loud as fuck. So I feel like it's probably a lot better to hear and listen to my voice when I've got the mic like right in my fucking face. Anyway, yeah, it kind of ties in with the subject, because it's okay. So first of all, now that I got folks in the chat, people found my live stream. That's good. I can kind of get into the topic at hand, because this is something that I think about a lot, and especially this time of year in Slab City where I live. This is the time of year that, like, if somebody has gotten through the summer up until this point, they're starting to feel real fucking cool, like, wow, I really did it, I'm a real slabber now. And then this part of the summer hits, and then they just fold, and they get fucked over, they, you know, like in some way, like they're not prepared. And I'll tell you why. But it's not just like one mistake, or like, you know, so it's a whole bunch of little things that add up. And when you live off grid, you need to be doing, you know, there's not like a step 1, step 2, step 3. There's like step 1 A through Z with like a million other things going on at the same time. There's so many things that you need to be keeping track of. There's that a lot of people are looking for like a simple answer, and they think that going off grid is going to fix all their problems, when a lot of their problems aren't things that have anything to do with whether you live on grid or not. You know, no matter how you live or where you go, if your problems are like within yourself, like you can't just leave those behind. They're still there, you know, and if you're trying to solve your problems, and you think that going off grid is gonna fix your life, like, unless it's like problems that can be fixed by going off grid, you know, like you're trying to not pay rent, or, you know, you're trying to grow your own food or collect your own water or do like off-grid stuff. If that's what you're trying to solve by going off-grid, then yeah, you're going to solve those problems. But if you're just like, I don't feel like I belong here, like, you know, things keep going badly for me, I keep ending up, you know, this or that, like, it's not going to solve your problem. And then also you're going to have the added challenge of living off-grid, which, like, living off-grid is very challenging. So, you know, you're just making more problems for yourself, maybe. Like, there's definitely, like, some people go off grid and they, you know, come to a lot of realizations about things, and it kind of roundabout way does like help them figure shit out. Robo Slaver says, what do you do with a dead horse? I don't know why you're in my chat asking me about what to do with a dead horse, actually. Like, that's not related to the subject matter. It's kind of rude, of my time. And it's, like, wildly, like, just inappropriate. Like, who... I mean, I'm either I'm calling it, because, like, why... Like, how rude, coming in and just like derailing my fucking live stream, and to all of these people here that are here listening to my live stream. Like, obviously, I can make it entertaining to hear me roasting you for commenting that in my chat, and I'm doing that, like, you know, because that like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that information? Um, yeah, I just kind of lost like a lot of respect for you. I don't know. Anyway, go deal with your fucking bullshit, and I have nothing to do with it. So, you know, fuck off. And come back when you have more consideration for my time and the time of the people in my chat. Um, yeah. Anyway, David McCauley is not very good at swearing, but I'm gonna hide you on my channel just because fuck you too. Anyway, so that completely derailed my fucking, you know, I've been like considering and thinking about what I was gonna say on my stream all day, and now I can't remember what the fuck I was talking about. So yeah, fuck you, Robo Slaver, whatever the fuck. That was really fucking rude. Um, So anyway, I'm gonna drink some of my energy drink here and get back on track. Also, I'm gonna roll a spliff too, because I feel like a spliff might be in order now. But while I do that, anybody in the chat, if you're one of those people that's always thought about going off grid, or you know, you're one of those people that like binge watches off grid stuff, I do want to get into kind of like the mindset behind that, because you know, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I've lived off grid in a number of different ways, all over, and I've done a lot of trial and error, etc. But yeah, anyway, so if you have any questions or things that you would like to hear me talk about during this hour stream, now is the time to think about stuff or to greet folks in the chat here. I'm literally just gonna roll a spliff, and before I do that, I want to clarify something. This is a huge fucking pet peeve of mine, okay? And I'm fair warning, my attention, not my attention span, my patience is very thin, especially on this topic, because it is like obviously really close to home, literally my off-grid home, and because of the type of content that I make, I get a lot of these really stupid questions like over and over and over again. And so it's like, I really don't have a whole lot of patience for, you know, for these same questions. I'm trying to be patient and nice, because I understand that people that ask these repetitive questions, it's the first time they've asked me. You know, they're not the ones that have asked me over and over and over again about these things. But anyway, the thing that really fucking pisses me off is the misconception of what off-grid means. And I talk about this on my channel all the time, but I was looking at a few videos, just like really cursory glances on YouTube when I searched like off-grid, like things that you didn't know, or like why we stopped living on, you know, stuff related to my stream today. And the first one that I watched was some guy who lives off-grid, so you would think he would know better, but he's talking about like, you know, when people think about going off-grid, they think about disappearing completely, and that's what I wanted to do. And that is not what off the grid means. Going off grid does not mean that you disappear completely from society. It does not mean that you don't use technology. It doesn't mean that you're like unreachable, uncontactable. It doesn't mean that you don't use the internet. It doesn't mean like going off grid doesn't mean disappearing. When you disappear, you do go off grid typically, I guess, but that's like also not technically true either. Going off grid, who in chat knows what going off the grid means? And if you've been a viewer of my channel for a while, then you probably already heard me. What is And all of the new folks in chat, welcome. If you here to hang out, that's great. But if you're like gonna act like a 12-year-old, I'm not even gonna answer your question. I'm just gonna ban you. So, you know, that's your only warning. Like Squid Ink Pasta says, are you a guy or a chick? Yeah, that's an NPC fucking thing to say. That's like a 10-year-old NPC fucking thing to say. And I will openly roast you if I feel like it. If I don't, I'm just gonna ban you. So that's your one warning. And if you're gonna ask me stupid fucking questions, then I also have no time. I have no time or patience for it. Goulash is banned from my chat now. There we go. Fucking NPC ass comments. It used to mean going off the power grid. There you go. You're close there, Chris Bandit. Off grid literally means off the water power grid. Do you know that you live on a grid? That's what grid refers to. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be rolling a spliff. The grid. Okay, come on, guys. Like, it's not fucking... it's not complicated. Like, you live on a water and power grid. So if you go off the water and power grid, that's what that means. So that means that you're getting your own water and you're getting your own power. You know? Anyway, yeah. I'm banning as told by Angela. Yeah, I'm sorry guys. I have like literally zero patience to like this channel it's not for kids. So if you're going to ask questions to me that indicate that you're a literal child, I'm just going to ban you from my chat, okay? I'm sorry, but I demand a bit of a standard here in chat. And if you don't meet it, I'm just going to boot your ass. Not sorry. But anyway, I'm going to stick my mic here on my little cup. This is my homemade energy drink again. All right. And not only will I boot your ass out of my chat for asking fucking, like, questions that indicate to me that you're a literal fucking child, I'm also just not going to tolerate, unrelated questions. Like, I'm not gonna kick you out, like, if you ask the wrong question, per se. But if you're just like coming in here asking really dumb fucking questions that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about, then I might just ban you. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Sam? How you doing? Croatan says I keep my weed in a mason jar too. Hell yeah, dude. That's the way. Keeps it nice. Vicklin says, and the standard isn't too high either. I'm still here, just act like an adult person. Yeah, it's really not. It's not a high bar to clear. It really isn't. It's, yeah, crazy. All right, but we got 44 people in chat here. So I got a number of regulars in chat that I see here, and for the folks that are new, I'm obviously Cornelius Van Gogh. I don't know if you didn't know that, then you're not very observant, and that's embarrassing for you because it's literally my channel name. I don't have much of a filter, and I truly do not give a fuck if you're being an ass and I hurt your feelings. Like, honestly, I think, you know, if you come in here acting like a fucking jackass, like, I have zero sympathy for you. You're not gonna fucking, like, gaslight me into feeling bad for you, or, like, having a conversation about something that I'm not interested in having a conversation with. Yeah, rage bait doesn't work on me. I'm an OG fucking anon troll. So, you know, I use my powers for good now, though. So yeah, if you're new here, say hi. Welcome. And if you're a fucking reprobate, send me your favorite emoji that's not like a face or a hand or something. Oh, thanks, Swanky Dog. I really appreciate that. Hell yeah. So, going off grid. Going off grid means what? Chat, remind me what going off grid means. Alright. Oh, damn it. Sorry about that. We should be becoming self-sufficient again. I disagree. That's not what going off-grid means either. Going off-grid does not mean self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency is bullshit. That's a lie. There's no such thing as self-sufficiency. That's Western culture and colonialism making bullshit up. No such thing as being self-sufficient. I mean, there are edge cases. People are like, you know, like fucking Grizzly Adams type shit. And that works for a very tiny amount of people, but even that isn't self-sufficiency. There's literally no such thing as self-sufficiency. Hubert Lagrange can't type a full sentence. That's embarrassing. Hey, what's up, Connor? If we all made our own products and grew our own food and made our own jewelry again, we can carve reality any way we see. That's not what going off grid means, dude. Like, a huge part of success in going off grid, and this is honestly one of the reasons why people get fucked over, the why people fail at going off grid, because they think that they need to be like standalone, and they completely overlook the importance of community. Building community, there's a lot to going off grid that is not like the glamorous aspects of like buying solar panels or like all these gadgets that help you with shit. It's like putting in the long-term work and effort to building a collective of people that can work together and putting in that like that structural work for long-term longevity. That's why so many people will go off grid and then like 2 years later they're making videos that say like why going off grid is bullshit and I hated it or something like that, or like 10 they never warn you about going off grid. Going off grid isn't just the actual act of buying a plot of land or squatting a plot of land and building a power system and collecting water and planting a garden. That's a lot of it, but that's not the end all be all. That's a big part of it. But if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. That's okay, so one of the big things that I see people that are like making content about going off grid and living, you know, whatever, is like they make a jump. They make a whole switch. Like in one of the videos I like quick glanced at before I went live, this other person said like, here's what you need to know before you dive into off-grid living. And I'm obviously a librarian. That's like my whole thing here in Slabs. I'm Slab City librarian. So words mean a lot to me, like specifically. So I don't want to like get too literal with it, but like in the way that this person said it, like before you dive into off-grid living, nobody should be diving in to off-grid living. That is not like, unless you're put in circumstances that force you to make do with what you got, like me. But even I didn't dive into off-grid living. I didn't just like, you know, it's not like switching your internet provider. It's not like switching your fucking, you know, your phone carrier. It's not like, that's not how it is. So a lot of these people will go from like living in an upscale suburban neighborhood, 9 to 5, like a college degree, blah, blah, and then they're like, I'm gonna live off grid, and then they put a bunch of time and money into like setting everything up, so then they just like switch over, and then all of a sudden they're living on an off-grid property in a shack, you know, that they maybe built or maybe probably paid a ton of money for to get like all these, you know, like maybe they'll move into a Connex box and make a tiny home, you know, and they've got all these big lofty ideas, and they're taking all of these things that other people online that also just dove into off-grid living say is like your top thing that you need. It's not. In my mind, as a person that has been successfully living off-grid for over 10 years now, the absolute top most important thing is the thing that I mentioned before that everybody overlooks. That is building community and having community that you can work with, because there is absolutely no way that you're going to be able to comfortably meet all of your own needs completely off grid. That's just not a thing. And in Western society, there's so much, like, people don't realize how separated we are from other people. Like, that's not even on most people's radar, building community, because you don't have community in your suburban neighborhood. Maybe you have like your neighbors that you talk to and stuff, but like it's really rare to see people in American society, at least like middle class and up, actively like hanging out in public settings with other people in their neighborhoods. You see that a lot in poor neighborhoods because that's what you have to do. That's the way that you need to live. You'll like look to places that are not like suburban Western culture, you know, like a lot of the world lives off grid, but you're only looking at the people with money that are Americans that have just gone off grid, and they've sunk like 25K into some build out that they're just moving into. They've never been off grid in their entire life, and suddenly they're building an entire off grid homestead. That is inadvisable. That's very stupid. And like, if you're not looking to people of the world that are not white Western culture people to get a better idea of what living off grid can be and looks like, then you're not doing it right. You're living in a fucking fantasy world, and you're not going to succeed. So yeah, absolute top thing in my mind is building that community and being able to do community work. And absolutely do not dive into anything like without knowing what's under the surface. Like, why the fuck, if you're standing on a lake and you're on a nice boulder or something, and you're like, that water looks real nice there, I'm gonna just dive headfirst in this water even though I have no idea what's under the surface. That would be dumb as hell. That would be so fucking stupid. So why the fuck would you do that with like your entire life? Why are people out there playing with their whole fucking livelihood like that? The only people you see doing that are people like me who have not been given any other chance to do that, and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna take what I got and run with it. Or they're people who are absolutely fucking clueless, and they got a bunch of money to throw around, and you know, they got safeguards, so if they really fuck up, you know, they got their trust fund or whatever they got going on, or their savings. Sam says, yeah, my pour over coffee and show. Roll of smoke. Time to listen. Hell yeah. I love the pour over method. That's great. Pioneer level. Hell yeah. So I've definitely given a lot of like tips and tricks on things that you can do to get into off-grid living. And, you know, one thing that I've talked about a lot is just like microdosing, outdoors experiences and community building, and learning ways to stop relying on the power grid while you're still living on the power grid. Like, see how little power you can use with alternative stuff. Like, instead of having a coffee grinder or a microwave, maybe switch to, you know, cooking solely over a gas stove and a gas oven, you know. Or you could even get yourself like a solar cooker and start practicing with that and see how far you can get with that. You know, learn canning or learn how to dehydrate your stuff. Learn food storage without refrigeration. Because a lot of people go off grid and they're still like, they haven't done all of this. They have no idea that you don't actually need a fucking fridge, like at all. I have this electric cooler that was donated. I'm so grateful for it. I love it. It's a real game changer. But up until very recently, I did not use a fridge. Um, and you need to learn like how, like little things like how long you actually can store food without refrigeration. You know, what kind of shelf life stuff has. That takes a lot of trial and error. So you got to put in that time. So while still living on grid, you know, maybe get yourself a little Jackery. I hate Jackeries, but you know, for example, an easy system that's like a pre-built battery bank with a little solar panel, and see how much, you know, start looking at how much power all of your appliances actually use. Become aware of that and see where you can get stuff that's maybe more energy efficient, so that if you do take the leap to going totally solar, then you actually like know how much solar you really need. And you know, like people will go off grid and they'll build like a solar system, and it's like they'll build a solar power system that would meet the needs of a modern Western home. And that is so silly to me, because that's like kind of defeating the fucking purpose, right? Wow, my rant earlier really cleared out all the fucking uh, trolls that came through my chat. That's so fucking funny. Trolls, come out here so I can fucking shit all over you again, because that's really entertaining to me. Where are you? Come out. Um. Anyway, so if you're making the leap to off grid without knowing, like, you know, you check your appliances, like on here, literally everything that's electrical. Like I just, this is the first thing that I grabbed. Um, but you can look on it and there's those little markings. There's little markings on the bottom, and those are usually going to tell you, let's see, output for, it's DC 8.4, input DC 10 volts, 0.5 amps. So to charge this, it takes a DC charger that only needs zero point 0.4 amps to charge, which obviously I have here, but that's not a lot. That's really little power. But on like a microwave or any heating implements, you're gonna look at it, and the amount of power that it's gonna take is gonna be easy. And you need to learn at least a little bit about what volts are, what watts are, what amps are, and just like a cursory idea of how to like quantify that into your power usage. Mm. So, number one reason why people don't last off grid is because they completely overlook the importance of collectivism and community, and looking to not white cultures and Western cultures and people that just went off grid for guidance on how to go off grid. It's just, you're looking in the wrong spots. Like, people in, I look a lot to how people in like Africa and specifically like the Saharan Desert or Arabic countries like live traditionally, and not just like live, but also how they build and how they dress. And also important, like how people solve interpersonal issues without the government too. That's a big part of it, with community and community building and working with other people to meet needs. Like, you don't need to live with people in a commune, but like you do need to know who your neighbors are, because all of those things that you use off grid, like your power system, especially when the weather's crazy, like right now, it's actually really nice out today. I wouldn't be running my AC if I wasn't doing a live stream, but my phone would overheat really quickly if I wasn't in my AC. But it's only like I want to say it's only supposed to get up to 109 degrees today, although it is really humid. It's like For the desert, it's like almost 40% humidity, which is pretty crazy. So I was pouring sweat. I wasn't like hot. I don't feel hot um, when it's like 105 or lower. 110 starting to push it. Above 110, that's hot. Um, but anyway, so, a few days ago though, it was like 117. That's hot. And my neighbor, who I'm not like really friends with, I don't hate him, but he's annoyed me in a few ways, just like by being noisy and inconsiderate. But he's I've talked to him and he's getting better about it. He's been more considerate, and as far as neighbors go, he's not a bad neighbor per se. He does annoy me, but I'd rather have a guy next door playing fucking dad rock at inappropriate hours, really fucking loud, than I would want to live next to somebody that's like screaming at their spouse all the time and like beating their dogs or some shit, or like burning garbage all day every day. Like, you win some, you lose some. Regardless, I need to be at least on decent terms with my neighbor, because that's my neighbor. I live off grid. There could be a time when something really fucked up happens and I need to go to the nearest person. And if the nearest person to me wants to beat my ass, then that can really fuck me, if there's an emergency or something. Or like the other day, his generator went down, and if he had come to me, I would have had a spare to let him use for a couple of days. But he figured something else out. But anyway, you don't need to live in like a fucking hippie commune. You can just live in a rural area with neighbors kind of nearby that, you could call up if you really needed to borrow a tool or something, or if there was an emergency, or if you had to run to town and you think somebody might be messing with your camp or your homestead or something, and you could be like, hey, Ted, could you drive by my place and make sure nobody's burning my house down right now? Like that kind of thing. You want to have at least some contact with other people in your area that can, give and take, because together we're stronger. Even if we don't particularly like each other, as long as we're not trying to kill each other, it's a win. That's good. Paul Bendel is asking about a fucking water still. I'm in the desert, man. There's not a lot of water in the air. And I also live next to a canal where there's water. So I don't, but that's also not really on topic. The topic today is why people fail at going off grid. So yeah, coming back to number one, community, or at least collectivism, connection to other people. There is no such thing as self-sufficiency. I need you, if you take nothing else from this live stream, that is what I want you to take from this. Okay, so you got to erase those Western ideas about rugged individualism. Just throw that all in the garbage where it belongs. It's bullshit. It's nothing. And that's what keeps people failing and going back to the grid. They think that they need to buy all of these things and get the right setup, and they'll look up all these schematics for like the ideal solar system to run this or that, and they'll build out a tiny home according to like Western structural ideas, and all of these things. They do everything right by a system that is wrong, and benefits in no way from them leaving it. So remember that. And people will build structures that abide by the rules of on-grid structures. That also doesn't make sense, because Western architecture relies completely on climate control. It's completely reliant on making a box that closes everything out and then filling it with something else, like your artificial air system, or your AC, which I am in AC right now, but I also this trailer is not just sitting out in open sun. I've built a structure around it to keep the sun off in certain areas because insulation only goes so far, and the insulation in this thing is old and half of it's pulled out. Um, I have closed a lot of gaps and like fixed a lot of things to keep the air in, but mostly like I did not have time to redo all the insulation in here, and you should not be relying solely on insulation, in especially in hot places, specifically in hot places, like when you're getting that direct sun right on your structure, that sunlight beating down on your roof or your walls or your windows is getting so much hotter than the ambient air temperature. So if you do what I did and you put shade cloth up over to keep the sun a little bit further off structure, then you're only getting the ambient air temperature hitting your wall, your roof. So that takes it down a lot. Like you can put in a fuck ton of really expensive insulation to get the same effect, or you can just put up some shade cloth and stagger your roof so that air can get through certain areas, but the sun doesn't. I've built a roof to this side, which is where the sun is most of the day. So that helps a lot. So you want to look to the types of structures that people build and in other places where people are living off grid. And you also got to take off those goggles that as an American or somebody in a Western society has, where when you look at people that are living differently, like there's still plenty of cities and towns and villages across the world that build their structures totally different. And I see it a lot, especially in like African architecture. There's a lot of villages where people still live in grass and mud huts. And they are often dispelling myths about the structures that they live in. And these people are put together, they're like dressed nice, they're clean, they've obviously got like, whatever health care situation they've got going on is like clearly working for them. And they're happy and well adjusted, and people will see what they live in and just automatically think like, oh, those are savages, those people live shitty, they live bad, because their house doesn't look like mine. But what they're missing about these clay and grass huts is that there's a reason that they're built that way. It's not because they couldn't think of anything better to build those structures out of. It's because those are the optimal things to build those structures out of for the climate that they're in, with the things that are already around in the environment that they're in. That's basically what an earthship is trying to be. That's what, that's an ecosystem. They're doing permaculture. It's just when it's brown people in non-Western countries doing it, we tend to look down our noses at that and think that that's not legitimate or that's invalid because it doesn't look like what we're used to seeing in Western society. Hold on. So one thing that's really important is to also just like get rid of those ingrained ideas about what a dwelling space should look like. You know, as far as like cold weather stuff goes, I don't want to talk too much about that. Although I am from Minnesota, I grew up camping in winter. I'm actually like a lot more experienced at cold weather than I am at desert weather, but I have not lived off grid for like an actual like amount of time to kind of claim that. Like at some point in my life, I definitely will build a log cabin somewhere like Alaska or Montana or somewhere in a very different climate and do an amount of time in a cold climate. But that's not where my experience is as an adult living long term off grid. So let me show you a little bit of example. I do kind of like a bastardized, um, like hybrid sort of way of living off grid that I've developed over many years with just like what works. And obviously, like I said, right now I'm in a trailer with AC going. I'm not happy about it, but I'm running a generator. I was trying to do a GoFundMe and save up enough money to get a good battery bank that will last a long time that I can run my AC off of solar. But it was like a spit's chance in hell or whatever, to be able to get that, not only raise the money but to be able to assemble a beefy ass solar system before the heat, which I'm now in the middle of the dog days of summer out here. But I'm in a trailer with AC right now, and I also mostly live outdoors. This is the first summer that I've lived here where I have regularly been running a generator, and the main reason for that is, I mean, one is because Satan is she's the old baby, and she's starting to struggle, and I can't stand seeing her like struggling in the heat, and like it just sucks. And I do keep her cool, but she's old and she's retired now, so I want to just like keep her as comfortable as possible. And then the other reason is that I do make content, and my phone will get overheated in anything over like 98 degrees, like almost immediately, especially if it's got something to do with the camera, which is like the whole thing that I'm trying to do. But I'm going to take you guys outside of my trailer here real quick just to demonstrate kind of what my hybrid build and way of living is so far. And this is a work in progress. I did not have much time to get this all prepared before the heat wave. And if you've been following along, you know why. You know, I kind of got foisted in this position very suddenly, and just like had a whole lot of stuff that I had to do very quickly. And just about anybody else that would have been put in the position that I was wouldn't have been able to succeed. And you know, like, anyway, it's a long story, but I'm gonna show you a little bit. And I got to do it quick because my phone will overheat. It's already hot, and I'm inside. It's not cold in here. It's not cool. It's probably like around 89 degrees in here. I run my AC on eco mode. Oh, it's 91. Okay. Yeah. So it's I mean, it's still like, to y'all this is hot. To me, this is nice. How's Satan? Oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're so cute. How do I flip this back around? There we go. Alright, so I'm going to show you real quick what I mean by like a hybrid build here. And yes, my door is a blanket. I did not have time to build a new insulated door. But guess what? Blankets are insulation. So I've got, this is wool. I'm not sure what this is, but it's, yeah, it's these, this keeps the heat out. I will build a door, but this is what I got right now. Sometimes you got to take what you can get. So that's already kind of more not primitive. I don't know what a more PC way to say that is, but anyway, so I've got my trailer here. Now notice something. What do you notice about this trailer in this context? Anybody? Oh yeah, I can't. I don't have much time because my phone's gonna overheat. But what do you see around the trailer here? Now, I'm gonna give you a hint. It's got something to do with the sun, right? You don't see the sun hitting this trailer at all. And you also don't see stuff built right up onto the trailer. If I wanted to pull this trailer out of here, right now, I absolutely could, and it would not fuck with the structure at all. I've built it to be completely separate. This trailer ain't going nowhere, but if I wanted to, I absolutely could. But what you see here is that there is a roof, and it's built to keep the sun off of my trailer altogether. So I'm utilizing, obviously, a natural way to stay cool, which is obviously to stay out of the sun. And I've also got these layers here where, and this shade cloth here so that the air can flow freely through here. I will be adding more of a structure over top of the trailer and kind of building it in more like into a port kind of situation. But that, like, just keeping the sun off of my trailer does more than if I spent a fuck ton of time and money on redoing all the insulation in here. All right. And yeah, that's the main thing. So I've got AC in here, right? But I am not relying solely on the AC to keep my trailer cool. I'm also keeping the sun off of it and utilizing what I've learned about how to naturally cool air without AC. And I put my time in. I really did put my time in learning how to do all of that. And if you're interested in that, then, you know, check out my channel and look at a lot of my older videos where I show what I'm doing and why. Anyway, let me put this back up. Yes, correct, Sam. See, Sam got it. I knew you would. But it's, you know, and I've also, in keeping with like more traditional ways of living, like, you need to be in tune with the land around you and how it works, and also the seasons. You need to be very in tune with the seasons. Not only that, but you need to know where the sun's at. You need to know where the sun's going to be. So a lot of these people, they go off grid. They've never actually lived outside before, and then suddenly they're out in it, which is, I think, a fatal mistake. Like, if a lot of these people spent time, you know, like maybe get a job as like a farming intern. You know, a lot of places you can go and work for like a small amount of money, but also you're mostly working for the learning experience. Or you can learn a lot of this by planting your own garden, and it takes years to be able to start noticing the cycles, like what's the sun path in September versus July. You know, so I've built this place, the library and house, and this whole structure here, while keeping track of the season cycles and the sun path specifically, because when you're trying to stay cool, you really need to know where the sun's going to be. So if the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, right, like, you're going to want to orient your house in such a way so that you can control how much sun you're getting during which parts of the day and for how long. And you're also going to need that information for setting up your solar system. So often I see people with these crazy ass, super expensive, high-tech solar builds. And they've got like this huge array of panels, and the panels are facing the goddamn wrong way. And I can tell these people have like made up for it by just buying more panels without ever thinking like, oh, maybe I should orient my panels to the south, actually, like, you know, at a certain angle. I think, what is it? It's like the ideal angle on the northern hemisphere is like 45 degrees facing like southeast or some shit like that, or so. I can't remember exactly, but there's like a specific orientation that you want your panels to be at, so they'll get the most sun throughout the most of the day. Like, and I see there's this aesthetic, you know, like solar punk aesthetic. And I love solar punk aesthetic because obviously I'm a solar punk. That's like my whole thing. That's my whole life. But they get it wrong. Like, I'll see all of these beautiful, like, ideal, like, utopian kind of illustrations that people will make. And like, it's really obvious to me as a person that lives off grid that the artist has never worked with solar, and they have no idea how solar works, because they'll have solar panels just like straight up and down, like facing, like it's never going to get sun all day. Or they'll have like panels facing all sorts of directions, like they just really have no idea that a panel needs to be directly oriented flat to the sun, or you're not going to get power. You know, the sun is like in a very specific spot in the sky. It's not everywhere that the bright is. Um, let's see. What else? Oh shit, I'm almost at an hour. I've been ranting about fucking like okay. Honestly, that's like literally it. People I don't know. If y'all have any questions about what I've been talking about, or maybe there's something else that you're thinking of, um, that might be a reason why people fail at going off grid. Um, Another thing that I really wanted to touch on is just like so the second thing, the second topmost thing that I was talking about is like people thinking that they need to dive in 100% and also not having any idea how things work, right? So you want to be microdosing off-grid living, like start gardening, work on a farm, go camping more often, figure out how to cut your power usage down by becoming aware of how much electricity the things that you use actually take, and figuring out where you can cut those and substitute for other things that don't take power. Like I was trying to say earlier, like instead of a electric coffee grinder, just get a goddamn hand crank grinder. It works great and it takes zero power. So that's not a huge power spike you got to deal with. There's tons of alternatives to electric appliances that don't take any electricity at all. So start learning that. And so like not knowing what the like having zero experience is another huge way that people fuck themselves over when they're going off grid, and they have no frame of reference. And if they're not aware of how important community is also, then they're probably moving out to the middle of fucking nowhere because they think off grid means disappearing from society entirely, because of misinformation. And so when they're experiencing off-grid living, they have zero frame of reference except for those other YouTube videos that they see of people that are also new and don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're looking at the wrong examples, and they don't have anybody around them to be like, hey, yeah, I've been living off-grid out this way for 10 years, and, you know, this is actually what I do here instead of this. Or, like, you don't need to do that at all, actually. Like, fuck all that. And they don't have anybody that actually is doing it to look to help them. And then the other thing, this is the top killer of people off grid, okay? And I'll get to it in a sec. This is the absolute top, like, literal killer, and also like figurative, like this will fuck you over. Who wants to guess what I'm gonna say? See if you can come up with it. So first thing we got is people overlooking how important community, collectivism, and just like working with other people is. They've got that, you know, rugged individualist mindset. The other thing is they rely too much on the things that they're accustomed to in what we in Slabs call Babylon, right? What they rely too much on the ways of Babylon, or on the grid, like structure building, the types of appliances they're used to, and how they're used to doing things on grid. They want to just be able to do all of that stuff, but off grid. That's like the entire point of going off grid. So they're missing that. The other thing is that, what was the other thing? What was the other thing, chat? They're relying too much on Western ideas and culture and appliances. There's something else that I was literally just talking about. Yeah, having no experience, and looking to the wrong places. And yeah, what's the number one? What's the number one? It kind of goes in with the the other things. Maya says buy toilet paper by the bale. I mean, I guess like wipe if you don't know, like I don't know, man. Wiping your ass is like the most basic thing. That kind of ties into like not knowing what the fuck you're doing before you dive in off grid. Which don't dive off grid. Microdose, okay? But if you've never dug an house before, you really have no business going fully off grid. If you don't know how to shit, like there's no helping you. I'm sorry. Um, and side note, I actually, when I first moved out here, I still had like, I was really trying to rough it, and trying to not buy anything. Because I didn't have money to buy stuff, and also I didn't have a way to get all the way to town, which is a 35-minute drive, to like the nearest Walmart. But I just wanted to see how much I could do without relying on Babylon at all. So I actually didn't buy toilet paper for a while. People would come and donate it, and we'd gladly accept it. But we used old books that were falling apart. So there was a lot of them, and I was wiping my ass with fucking romance novels for a while, and Bibles. They were fucked up. They were already fucked up. I wasn't fucking them up to use as toilet paper. There was just an abundance of something. There's an abundance of something near you that you can wipe your ass with, I'm sure. That isn't toilet paper. Toilet paper is good, though. I like it. I don't hate it. And you know what? I don't feel the need to learn how to make my own toilet paper, like, from scratch. Maybe I will at some point, but yeah. But yeah, if you don't know what to do with your shit without a toilet to put it in, you are not fucking house trained. I'm sorry. You're a pet. You're a fucking, like, you're a fucking lapdog of the ruling class. Sorry to say it like that. But, like, it is amazing that so many people in Western cultures don't understand that you can dig a hole and poop in it. And that's what people have been doing for thousands and thousands of years. It's actually, like, astounding how quickly humans were, like, domesticated to their detriment. Like, we don't even know how to take a shit anymore. It's, like... And also, another side note, like, shitting in water is so fucking offensive to me. Especially with, like, we got droughts all across the world now, and the data centers are taking up all the water, etc. Like, taking a shit in a few gallons of water just so that you don't have to deal with it is fucking disgusting. And I don't hate you guys for doing it because, you're the product of your environment, etc. But that's fucking offensive. And we need to be more aware of how offensive that is. Like, if all you've ever done is shit in a toilet and you don't know how to bury your shit in the woods, and how to handle that, then you don't, like, you don't know, I don't know how to explain any, like, it's, yeah, that is such basic information. Like, cats do that. Cats know to bury their shit, and other animals know to bury their shit. They don't even have, like, complex language like we do, or the internet, or whatever. Like, they just know how to do that, and we did too, until however many generations it took to get people to forget basic stuff like that, like how to feed themselves and how to shit and how to repair their clothes. But anyway, number one killer and thing that fucks people over when they're going off grid is like being ignorant, but also thinking that, like, they're the one. They're gonna be, they think they're, like, the main character, the hero in their fucking story. They have grandiose sense of self, which means that they think that they have a lot more credentials in what they're doing than they actually do. Don't even actually know how to dig a fucking shitter. And then they go off grid and they think that they're like the one, you know, like I'm the one, I'm the first person that's ever done this, I can do this, and I'm gonna do this my way, and I'm gonna, you know, and they're stubborn because of this. They have this grandiose sense of self. They think that they can't fail, and those are the people that do fail. And a lot of them are so stubborn that they don't even know how to recognize when they've put themselves in a deadly situation, like Chris McCandless. And people out here in Slab City do it all the time, where they're just like so stubborn and so set in their way, and they're like, no, this is the way I do things, you know, like I'm gonna do it my way, and then they don't fucking survive because they don't know how to identify when they're having a heat stroke and they're alone and there's nobody that's going to be able to call, you know, the ambulance for them, and they haven't taken the time to learn how to recognize when their body is in distress, what certain conditions look like, when's the time to tap out, because that's not a thought in their mind. They're like, I'm not going to tap out, I cannot fail. You need to have contingency plan after contingency plan after contingency plan. It is literally a survival situation a lot of the time. Like, weather anywhere is no joke. Out here in the desert, here in snowy places, or even places that are moderate climates, or tropical climates or whatever, there's always going to be weather that your body is not designed to withstand. You need to have backup plans for if something fails. You want to plan for failure. You want to expect failure. And that's part of the learning process. You need to accept that, or you're going to put yourself in a deadly situation and you're going to Chris McCandless yourself. Okay? Does that make sense, y'all? Like, you need contingency plans, not just like what happens. Like, if my generator shit out right now and I could not get it started back up and it was like 120 degrees, I have a shitty backup generator that runs on propane. It doesn't run great. It's not very efficient. Like, it costs a lot more to run off of propane than it does to run this generator off of gas. But I do have propane on deck, and you know, so if this one shits out and I can't get it started back up, I can switch over to the backup one that's janky and more expensive, but it'll be fine. Buy me some time to figure my shit out. If that one shit out, I have put in years of my time learning how to stay cool in this very environment without AC. So if all else fails, I'm going to go back to the old-fashioned method of evaporative cooling and limiting the amount of movement that I'm doing in a day, changing up my diet completely so that my body is better equipped to withstand the temperatures here. And, you know, I'm going to switch up my whole routine and go to that. And I've also got backup plans for that. Like, if there was an extended amount of time where I didn't have a generator, it was crazy hot, like borderline unsurvivably hot, you know, there's like, I have plans for what I would do to temporarily relocate my dog, cats, and me to a cooling area. We can wait out and buy some time. There's obviously people in the community who have AC that I could go to, that have offered to open their space to me if there was an emergency. So I've got many contingency plans for if things fail. So that's the number one thing that fucks people over, is they don't have those contingency plans for when failure happens. You want to plan for failure, you want to hope for the best, and you want to work for the best and build for the best and set yourself up for success in every way possible, but don't ever overlook what could happen if everything fails and blows up in your face. And then what? You know, if you're put in a survival situation and you don't have a contingency plan for it, you're fucked. All right, let's see. Does anybody have any questions? What is the cost of running the generator? It runs. It takes about like I think it's 2.5 gallons or something like that. Um, Pretty sure it's 2.5 gallon tank, which I still haven't looked up. I thought it was 2 gallons, but you know, but for $5-6 a gallon around here, it's gonna be 10 to 20 bucks to run. If I'm running my AC on eco mode, like I am now, it's gonna be like 90 degrees in here, and I can run it for like a good 12 hours on like 2.5 gallons. So but that can change obviously if it's like hotter, if I'm running the AC, and I'm running only the AC off of the generator. All of my other electrical stuff I'm running off of my EcoFlow. So everything else is on the solar, and the AC is on the generator, so that makes it a lot more efficient as well. And I could get probably more efficiency if I had a small generator that was like exactly matched to the running watts of my AC. But this is the generator I have. It's pretty efficient, and it's it's good. Are the cats with you? They live here. Yeah, they're under the tree though. They prefer. Actually, no. Tom Waits is right here. She's my little princess. But the other cats, they prefer to be outside. And I have built my living room. Let me show you real quick what, for the new folks, I know that people who have been around here on my channel for a long time already know what my house looks like, but I'm going to give you a quick, because my phone's going to overheat, a quick example of what like a more natural way of building a place out here would look like. There's obviously a billion different ways of building your off-grid homestead in the desert that does not rely on AC, but I'm going to show you in a second here. And it's going to be quick, like I said. And I'm doing too many things at once. I need to finish my energy drink because it's late, and then I'm not going to be able to fall asleep. And it's about time I go check on the cats anyway. I'll show you what I do for the cats, and that's a good example of what I do to stay cool without AC. Trust me, this is luxury. This is absolute luxury. This is the first summer that I've been indoors during the hot season, because it's just like you need that airflow. And I'm gonna demonstrate what an ideal setup would look like for that. So you can see in my kitchen here, the way that the roof is staggered here, and I will be building more roof here. This is just shade cloth right now. But you notice also that the roof is really high up, because that keeps that heat from radiating onto your head. And you notice there's a really good breeze coming through here. I've built this space out so that the breeze moves freely through here. And you'll notice as I walk through that it's really, really big. There's a really wide shade footprint. That is super important. You see how big this is? And the ceilings are high up. It's all built out of salvage. That's why it looks crazy. I just kind of put up what I could find at the time. It took years to gather all these materials. I did not buy like any of this, except for like a few things here and there. This is all salvage. Hey, Kitty. That's one of the more skittish cats. She's so sweet. So that's the Kitty Cool Cube there. But this is what my living room looks like. And you'll notice there's these wide open high roof areas. You'll notice that there's like this area is really high up, and that kind of lets the warm air move out that way while keeping the cool air around here. You'll also notice that I don't have like a wood floor or a floor that's above the ground, because the ground, the sand, have you ever dug into the sand in the shade when it's hot? It's cool down there. So that's the same effect that I'm getting here. There's just carpet over it to keep the dust down, so you're not like just walking around in the dirt. And I'm gonna spray down the Kitty Cool Cube here. Clip my mic to my shirt. So this is a really important way to stay cool. This is using evaporative cooling. This sheet, I'm making it all wet, and I come out here like every like every 45 minutes to an hour and just like refresh the water. So simply by adding some water to this sheet, and sometimes I add another blanket, that one that's hanging up right there, over top. It's felt, so it holds a lot of water, so I'll put that over top if it's really hot. But it's only like 107 out here right now, so that's actually pretty decent. She's waiting for me to be done so she can come sit back here. See, the cats know what's up. So in this little cat fort, it's like 85 to 89 degrees in here. Let's see, where's my kitty? There's the kitty. Hi, baby. She's happy. She prefers it in here. She does come and hang out. I gotta put this down for a second. She does come and hang out in the trailer, but she prefers it in here, which I don't blame her. It's actually cooler in there than it is in my trailer. Oh, it's only 104. Nice. 104.9 under the tree here. So keep in mind, this area is built, and you see all of that breeze coming through too. This is built to direct the breeze in a way that brings it through here after it's been pulled through other shady areas. So the temperature under the tree here is going to be like a good 5 degrees cooler than the ambient air temperature in just a single layer of shade. Like if you were in the shade back here, it's probably about 110, 112 there. And let's see what the temperature is in my kitchen. Hold on, I forgot my fork. Where's my fork? There it is. So you see, all of that airflow. It's way cooler. It's 100. We'll just round it to 105 under here. Now let's see what the temperature is in the kitchen before my phone gets overheated and my stream drops. Let's take a look at the temperature behind the bar here too. All right, behind the bar it is 108. So that's even in an area where there's still lots of layers of shade, relatively decent breeze, but it's not built the way that, like, that perfectly demonstrates that it's not just like, I'm not just saying that shit about my living room. Like it really is built specifically to stay cool, and it does. So it's 108 behind the bar there. That's still many layers of shade. In the kitchen here, it is, what does that look like? 112? Yeah. And that's just single layer of shade here. There's good breeze. It is getting whatever percentage of the sun through the couple layers of shade cloth, but it's like 80% shade cloth or 90%, I can't remember. So it's 112 in the kitchen here. I'm gonna get that down, but yeah. And then in here in my trailer, it is 90 degrees, and that, folks, feels really nice. Hey, Satan. I'm gonna give Satan a treat. Hold on, though. I gotta put this down and clip my blanket door shut because if I don't, all my cool air is gonna leak out of here. And like I said, I got layers here, and then the sheet kind of acts as like, what is it, like a kind of seals up the edge along the bottom a little bit too, so there's not like, open space where the air can go right out. Obviously it's a sheet, so it doesn't offer a whole lot of insulation, but you can do a lot with just like keeping the air from running out of, open cracks and stuff like that. That's also why you'll see that I have cardboard up in certain areas because there's just like open cracks in this old ass um, Keith. Okay, he almost lost because my phone did overheat. Fortunately, I've got the fan on the back cooling my phone now. I was afraid that was gonna happen. Um, let's see. Christine says it really is looking good in there. Thank you. You're very organized and neat. Thank you. Yeah, it's like, you don't have to have all of the top of the line nicest things to do what I do. You can literally just build a house out of salvage and trash. Um, that's one thing that people don't realize about going off grid. It's not about the stuff that you have; it's about how you use it. And if you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to use it. It doesn't matter. Like, you can throw money at stuff and get the most high tech things that are supposed to solve all your problems. If you don't understand the fundamentals behind why these things work, um, you're not any better off than anybody else. There's tons of people out here that have absolutely nothing and they're making it work. And there's people out here that have tons of money and all these high tech things and they don't make it through a single summer. Um, and you're never gonna have all the right stuff. Like, you shouldn't dive off grid. You shouldn't jump off grid. It's not making a switch like switching your fucking internet provider or whatever, or switching to a different brand. It's a whole lifestyle, and if you don't have the substance behind it, you're not you're not going to be successful. And that's not to say that sometimes people don't get put and forced into a situation where they have to adapt to living off grid, and then they learn a lot and they're able to be successful. I'm not saying that's not the case. You can totally do that. That's essentially what happened to me and a number of people that I know. Um, but anyway, I'm going to give Staten a little doggy treat. Hold on a sec. I'm going to give the kitty cat a doggy treat too. My cat is basically also a dog. She'll eat anything. It's so cute. Let's see if I can... Oh, man. Man, this ain't gonna work. Hi, Satan. Okay, babe. Yeah. You want this treat? There you go. Now Tom Waits is gonna want some too. She eats fucking anything. It's so crazy. Tom Waits too. Tom Waits too. You want a snack? Up, 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 up. Up, up, up. Up, up. Good job. I just gave her a little piece of this chicken treat stuff. She'll chew it up. She eats whole rats, like, that are almost as big as she is, like skull and all. She's nuts. And this kitty is also like born and bred for this environment too. I did not bring a house cat out to this environment. That's something people do a lot. I see a lot of people will like take their whole on-grid home, whatever, and bring it all off-grid, and then be surprised when their cats get eaten by coyotes. It's really sad. Or, like, it's just, like, you can't, you can't just, like, bring a house cat out to an extreme environment where they've never experienced that, and, like, that's just kind of cruel, man. But my cats they're slab cats. They're meant for this environment. You notice how she's got really big ears, and you can like see the veins through them, just like a jackrabbit, so she can vent off the heat. She also knows to dig into the ground to get cool. And, you know, if I stopped feeding her, she would be totally fine. Um, she hunts. She's an excellent hunter, actually. She looks kind of like a dork, but she's a fucking apex predator, this cat. Isn't that right, Tom Waits? Good girl, stay tuned. Anyway. Alright, if anybody has any comments, questions, whoops, shit. I'm gonna see what's going on in chat here. Oh my god. This is so fucking... There we go. There we go. Alright, let's see. Helps. Mal says, I love your earrings. Thank you. Never seen holes with hangs. Yeah, it's kind of neat. They're, you know, simple but elegant. So anybody out there that's been thinking they want to go off grid and you got questions, you can ask a real live off gridder of 10 plus years in Slab City, desert environment, very hot. You know, I've been living off of solar and just not, like I said, off grid for the better part of 10 years. So if you got questions that somebody with my experience could answer, then now's your time. Don't pass up on a rare opportunity, because I don't always answer questions. You know, most of my life I'm living and doing stuff around here. There's a lot of chores that need to be done. If anybody ever led you to believe that living off grid is easy, then they're a fucking scammer. You can't, like, you don't go off grid to stop working. You're just changing what kind of work you do. Instead of working for the man, you're working for yourself, and you have to work hard every day to be able to live comfortably. But anyway, questions. Where do you get your water? A lot of people around here, they'll pay somebody to try out and put it in a water tote for them. Lots of people, even people that like live like partly on grid, or, you know, a lot of people with rural homesteads, or, you know, whatever, will just use a water cube and pay somebody to come fill it up every now and then. So that's an example of something that people should look like. If you don't know that, then you don't know the first thing about what living off grid is like. Like, you can microdose living off grid by going and being in rural places. You know, take a interesting work gig for somebody that lives off grid, or out, you know, out in the sticks. Maybe, you know, move to a semi on grid like farmhouse for a while and try that. Satan gets on so well with the kitties. Yeah, she does. But anyway, where does my water come from? Well, I filter my own water in my kitchen. Where I get it is, you know, somewhere. But I get water and I filter it. Would you consider selling Satan? Why the fuck would you ask me that? Mike says the whole world will be off grid in a few years. It's gonna be sick. ARC, that's me. I don't know what ARC means. And it's not gonna be sick because a lot of people will not be prepared for that if the grid goes down, which it kind of is in some places, even in the US, but and quickly. But it's not going to be sick because a lot of people will not be prepared for that, and they're going to die. So that's why I try to talk about what I do, so that at least some more people will have a better idea of what they should be learning to prepare themselves for if and when that happens. Are you able to grow anything there? Yes. You can grow stuff anywhere. I don't personally grow anything right now. Um, will I in the future? Totally, yeah. But you know, there's people that live in all types of climates that have grow operations, and you know, YouTube is a fantastic place to find stuff like that. I've definitely been wanting to get more into like permaculture and hydroponics, but that takes a lot of materials and resources. And also, obviously, anything that takes a lot of water is going to be really challenging in the desert because it's a challenge just to get water in the desert anyway. So that's why I don't personally do any growing, at least right now, until I have better infrastructure. That's another thing that people overlook is like building that long-term infrastructure. A lot of people, when they go off grid, they're not thinking about like how to make living off grid sustainable in the long term. Like 90% of living off grid is being able to plan for the future, plan for the season cycles, and you know, um, also in how to maintain yourself um, in a way that's sustainable, so that you're happy and well adjusted and healthy, etc. I'm not going to be keeping any plants right now. I'm in the process of rebuilding the library, which is taking up, it's especially this season, that's going to be 100% what I'm working on. Rebuilding structure and fortifying infrastructure of this space. Get Is canal water enough to keep the grows water? Dude, yeah, it's not. That's not the problem. I have a lot. Like, you have to pick some things. That's why it's so important to have community when you're living off grid as well, because nobody can do all of the things just from the drop. It's way too much. So a lot of people will like, you know, they'll have all of these things they think they need to just like be a farmer immediately, or like, you know, whatever it is, and you really like, will definitely work up to having stuff that I'm growing here, but if I spent time doing that this season, then I would not be able to have the amount of things done that I need to get done. I'm running a library, for example. That's already a full-time job, running a library, and also homesteading off grid is a full-time job. Um, so there's a lot going on. I'm working on infrastructure. So if I have good infrastructure in my homestead that can support collective living in a way that I can teach people how to do it themselves as well, so that they don't become fatigued with living off grid and, you know, the struggle of the lifestyle, so that it can sustain people, then I will be able to have more people here, so that the work that needs to be done on this homestead can be spread out among a few people instead of just me. Because I alone can only do so many things effectively. Hi, Corn. Any advice on solar components? You have a battery. What do you mean advice on solar components? Like in regards to what? That's like a whole topic. That's a whole thing. Like, people spend their entire lives studying electrical and solar. Preferences like a battery, solar controller, etc. It depends completely on what you're using it for and how much power you need. There's not like a right like solar setup for everybody. Yeah, you got to learn about, like I said in the first part of the video, and I talked about it for a long time, becoming familiar with what you're using, what kind of power you're drawing, what your power needs are. So you're looking at like the ends when you need to be focusing on the means to get to that level. Any other questions on that? Let's see. Oh yeah, and if anybody wants to get down with the kickdown, I don't know if I put the links in my description. Where is my fucking... Oh my god, dude, this is so annoying. I have to go to the... Okay. My phone's dying. I'm almost out of battery here. Did that new guy leave? Yeah, that's kind of another thing I was touching on. Like, people will have like more like, they think that they can do more than they can living off grid, like, and some people get stubborn and they don't want to learn things that are going to be completely necessary for them to learn how to do in order to live off grid long term. It happens. Most people that do their first summer here in Slab don't make it through the summer. And that's kind of one reason why I'm talking about this right now. And it's not just him, but it's also other people here in Slabs at different camps. Some people have switched camps a couple of times already, and you know, other people are just hitting a wall with the heat. Sam just posted my money links in the chat if anybody wants to kick down. Patty says expectations for the fun parts. Yeah, that's another one of the top things that make people fail when they're going off grid is I feel like a lot of people are drawn to off grid content because they're not satisfied with their life in some aspect, or maybe many aspects, and so they turn to this like content escapism with consuming certain types of content. And some people, you know, are more straightforward about it. They'll get into like porn or something, I don't know, but like, so, you know, the type of people that are mostly interacting with like off-grid content are people that are like getting into this kind of like escapism from whatever they've got going on in their life, and they channel, you know, everything into just like learning about off-grid living because they think that's going to fix their problems that are not off-grid problems. They're just them problems. Something, I don't know. I'm not trying to blame victims or anything, but like, you know, whatever you got going on. So people will dive into these off-grid channels and this content because they're idealizing that, you know, if they can just move off grid and completely change their life, then all their problems will be gone. And so because they're idealizing this lifestyle, they're building unrealistic expectations in their minds about what that's going to look like. And of course, when you're watching content online, most people are only showing you like, you know, there's some nice upbeat music, there's like, you know, little time lapses, and then like a little narrator talking about how they solved their problem today or whatever. And you're just seeing like the fuzzy, feel good vlog version of living off grid. So you're building completely unreal expectations about what it's going to be like. And then people actually get off grid after engaging in this idealization and buying all of the things, the little toys that give them a little shoot of dopamine when they purchase those things online, thinking like, oh yeah, this is going to be great for my build. When the grid goes down, I'm going to be so ready, like I got this new thing. It's the same fucking racket that gets you buying all sorts of stuff in Babylon. You know, all your little energy drinks and your little toys and things that, like, you know, your appliances, your new whatever. Um, and it's just that capitalistic prey on your mind. You know, they want to sell you something, so they're going to be like, oh, your discomfort is because you need this, and then you buy your new Jackery or your new fucking whatever, even though you don't even live off grid and you never go fucking camping. You're buying all this gear, like, you know. So you're just caught in this idealization. You're not allowing yourself a real picture of what to prepare for, because it's not a fantasy world. It's not a fucking Disney movie. You know, it's just another way of living. There's many ways to live. None of them are right. There's definitely a few wrong ways to live, but, you know, it's not all like the fun vlog shit. Sometimes it's 120 degrees and your generator craps out and you just got out of the shower, so you're all nice and clean, and then all of a sudden you're out in the dirt, you're covered in grease, and you're trying in vain to get your generator started while you're pouring fucking sweat, and you're gonna have to take another shower immediately, and you're just like, fuck, what the hell is going on, you know? And it's not fun. And if you stayed out in the sun any more time, you're gonna fall out and get a fucking heat stroke, and the minutes are ticking by, you know, and you've got other shit to do. Sometimes, you know, or like, sometimes living off grid, like, shit really sucks and you need to handle it immediately. And if you're not prepared for that, you're just gonna fold and you're gonna cry and you're gonna go get an apartment back on grid. And you're gonna blame everything else except yourself and your own unpreparedness. You're gonna be like, oh, well, this isn't fair, that's not fair, this is all set up against me, and blah, 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 and oh, maybe I didn't get the right equipment for this or that, and, you know, or I was lied to by big off-grid. They sold me an idealized fucking Disneyland version of living off-grid, and I believed it, and now I'm fucked. And I put all my money into this fucking build, and now I have nothing, and my wife left me, you know? Like, sorry. That's, you know, that's how it do. Don't idealize stuff. And if you're, you know, if you're using anything as a form of escapism from something that you're unhappy with in your own life, then stop it. You need to take care of things at the root of the problem before you move on. Like, living off grid rocks. I would suggest it. I think everybody should learn how. Because if everybody knew all of the things that go into living off grid, the world would just be a better place in general. And we'd repair our environment really quickly. But if you're using anything as a form of escapism from looking at the shit inside of yourself that you're afraid to look at, then you're setting yourself up to get fucked over. You're gonna, you know, you're gonna get wrecked. Any other questions before I fuck off? Robert says, I totally admire you for being so strong and highly intelligent, 74 years old, and survived a major heat stroke, and I can't deal with heat no more. But I am surrounded by nothing but heat. Damn, that sucks. Another pro tip, and this is my own hot take, and I don't think anybody's going to want to hear it, but with the way that the climate is going, and the way that society and politics are going, I think one not talked about at all that should be is the fact that we also need to plan for nomadic lifestyles. I'm not saying that like moving around or running away from somewhere is going to be like is always the best thing, but even when you are building up your space, like I'm going to build up my space again with the long term in mind, but I'm going to have contingency plans for if something fucking crazy happens and I need to leave immediately, because there's always a chance that the climate will become so destabilized or something crazy will happen that if this place gets any hotter, it's going to be actually like unsurvivable. Or, you know, if the fucking San Andreas fault line finally gives, this whole region is 300 feet below sea level. So does that mean that suddenly, you know, if there was a huge flooding incident, this whole space would be underwater? So what's my plan? If that happens, I got to be able to know exactly what I'm going to grab to be able to relocate and start a new homestead somewhere else, and how I'm going to do that. So as much as it sucks to think about, like, you want to plan for the long term, but don't overlook the possibility of having to completely relocate. If you're in a place that is no longer sustainable for you in your current health condition, or as far as like the environment or the climate, or, you know, a lot of places are burning down right now. Like, you need to be like you need to be ready to bail. Always have your bug out bag, have a backup plan, and know what you would do and how you would start a new homestead with only what you could fit in your car or whatever. But a lot of, like off grid, like all off grid content that I really see is people building homesteads, starting farms, stuff that you can't easily just like pick up and relocate. But that needs to be part of your contingency plan. Like, it's way too unpredictable these days. Anything could happen. And if you're putting all of your fucking money into like a bunker or something, there's a remote chance that it's just not going to fucking work in that location for unforeseen reasons or foreseen reasons. Don't ever put all of your eggs in one basket, as it were. Sam says, yep, that's where I've arrived at. Nomad capacity in my by necessity future. Even property owners and maybe a data center goes up next door. Traditional bug-in lifestyles don't seem valid anymore. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, you could have a fucking sick-ass homestead and it could be in the perfect location, and then suddenly there's a data center right next to you and all the water's gone and it's loud as fuck and all the animals left because they can't stand the noise or whatever the fuck else is going on with them. You don't know. And like, I don't stay where I'm not wanted. And that includes, like, if I had a health problem and I'm not saying, Rob, you should move, but maybe you should. I don't know, man. It's like at a certain point, you gotta weigh the pros and cons of being where you're at, and come to terms with that. But if I could no longer like live in the heat anymore, I wouldn't fucking stay here. I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where it's gonna potentially kill me a lot faster than I would otherwise. Or like, I don't know, like if I really didn't get along with the community, if everybody was a fucking piece of shit, then I would leave. Nice trailer, thanks. It's coming along. It's, it's kind of fucked up, but here, I'll show you. Like, there's some holes in the floor that I've covered, but and the walls here, I've got stuff stacked against these walls. Also to double as like a little extra insulation in those areas too. But it was all done in a real hurry. So it's not done the way that it will be, the way that I want it to be, but it had to get done. God damn it. This is so fucking annoying. So that's another important thing to consider. Living off grid, sometimes things just need to be done, and if you're so hung up on getting it done the right way, you're not going to get it done. You're not going to get it done in time, and then that's going to be your undoing as well. That's something that fucks a lot of people up. Sometimes you just got to do it and then come back to it later and do it right later. But you can't get hung up on waiting to have the right shit or whatever. Sometimes you just gotta fucking knock the shit out, knock it out, hunker down, fucking get through the shitty season, and then come back to it and build everything nice when it's more sustainable. So yeah, I've utilized a lot of cardboard here. You can see up on the top there. It's not glamorous, but it works. All right. Last couple minutes, questions, comments, concerns, requests. And would you like to hear me talk about this type of thing again and answer some more questions in the future? I would love to do like show some of the gear that I use every day at some point, but maybe I'll do an edited video for that. Dan Man says, where are you? I'm in Slab City, California. At Slab City Library, that's right. Man, I'm hungry. Gotta eat something. Satan, you're so cute. Also, don't overlook how important even like normal, like, I know I ranted about like how you can't have all the right gear, like you don't need all the best gear, but like having good gear really is an edge, and it's not always the stuff that you think it is. Like this is a vacuum insulated water jug. There, it does the same thing as a Yeti of the same size. It's like 130 or so dollars. This was like 37 bucks after tax, and it works just the same. It's awesome. Learning about why things work is really important to being able to select the right gear and not just getting fucking hustled. Like if I didn't know what vacuum insulation was, I might just think this is a cheap water jug and it's not going to work as good. I want to shell out for the best, but you know, it does the same thing. Same with like a lot of the things that you like in Babylon, like food and drink products. What you're paying extra for is the tiniest amount of whatever active or like medicinal or like nutritional element that they're adding to the drink. Like I see these hella expensive like nootropics energy drinks, for example, or like health shots or like vitamin shots or whatever the fuck. And if you know what you're looking at, you know, you can look at the back and be like, okay, well, what do they got in here? They've got fucking like L-lysine in there, and they've got creatine and caffeine in there, okay, and they've got you know, like whatever, ashwagandha, you know, like shit like that. But you can just buy those like straight up as a powder, and you can buy them in bulk. You can get a whole fucking like all of those different things. If you figure out what it is in that product that your brain likes and that your brain is telling you that you want more of, that you're willing to pay a bunch of money for, like figure out what that actual thing is and just buy it straight up. You're an adult. You can buy a whole ass bag of, you know, straight caffeine, or, you know, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, you can add that to whatever drink you want, or whatever vitamins and whatever is in your product that you like. You can just add those to your anything, you know. You can make Kool-Aid with it in there, and you've got like chaga mushrooms. Like those mushroom blends are crazy expensive. I just buy it straight up. I got a bag of lion's mane, chaga, cordyceps, that type of stuff, and I just put it in stuff, you know. Just figure out what goes into the things that you use. Robert says, I took a nice hit from my bong, especially for you and Satan. Hope you enjoy it. Hell yeah. Do you grow your own smoke out there? I don't grow anything right now. I got cactuses out front. Alright, this is a long stream. I don't know if anybody fucking kicked down. If you got any useful information from this stream, go and drop a few bucks in my PayPal or my Venmo or my Cash App. Don't be a fucking freeloader. I just spent 2 hours telling you stuff that is actually important, useful information, unlike other off-grid content creators. Straight to the point. Go ahead and throw down so I can keep my dog cool in the AC and buy her more treats, and also, you know, be able to continue rebuilding the library and holding this space here because it is important to the community of Slab City. So yeah, get down with the kickdown. I would really appreciate it. The links are right there in the chat. Sam just posted them. Oh, there's nothing in here. I'm still saving up to buy a battery bank so I can go completely solar and I don't have to run the generator off to have AC in here. I want to be able to run it right off the sun. And for the size of power system that I'm going to need, it's going to be expensive. So I'm just still saving up for that. But once it's installed, it'll be fantastic. And then I'll be able to tell all of you exactly you need to be able to run an air conditioner in a fucking 40-foot RV or trailer in one of the hottest places on the Northern Hemisphere. And show you my build out and my breakdown of all that. And then you can copy it. And then you can do that too. And then we can all just fucking post up wherever we want. Richie says no sound. Is it just Richie? Y'all hear me okay? Some people need to check their sound first before saying it in chat. Alright, there you go. Alright. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna check and see if anybody kicked down. I'm really hoping somebody does, because if I do these types of streams and nobody throws down, then I can't keep doing them. So if y'all want me to fucking do more content, then make it worth my time and get down with the kickdown. This is the part of the stream where I'm shaking the hat. Let's go. Holy shit. My fucking tablet is being a dick. There we go. Mark says, sign out already, Corn. Go fuck yourself, Mark. Yeah, you get 24 hours timeout. Let's see. Yeah, nobody's keeping you. Sam says to die. Sam Spallman says to die or not to die is Slytherin. That is the question. I don't know what the fuck that means. Oh my god. I can't fucking... This tablet is just like shitting all over. It's just like... I can't do anything on this right now. Holy fuck, dude. I was trying to see if anybody kicked down on fucking... Oh my god, what is happening? Somebody get down with the kick down. Maybe they did, I wouldn't know. Now it's just like frozen on... What a drag, dude. I can't even do anything. It's just frozen. Holy fuck. Can you read us the Iliad? Send me a copy. Dude, this is crazy. Oh, hell yeah. Looks like Joy says from Joy Hope. Kick down on PayPal. Thank you. Hell yeah. Oh my goodness. Alright, nothing on Venmo. Thank you, Joy Hope. I appreciate you. Is that cockroaches and a cat? That's funny, because in the Kitty Cool Cube, I noticed that if I don't hang the sheets up at night to let them dry out completely, then these big ass like red cockroaches are trying to hang out in there. I don't blame them, of course, because it's like, you know, it's nice and cool in there. And there's like some residual wetness after dark. It's like exactly what they would like. But yeah, I had to smash a couple. And now that I've been hanging up the sheet at night, they've kind of got the idea that that's not a great spot to be because, you know, when I pull it up, they all come fucking Last says, are you the one driving around the block with a broken muffler? The fuck are you talking about? Sir, this is a Wendy's? Why haven't you been uploaded lately? Did I miss the video? Hope you've been doing well. I'm streaming right now, man. But I haven't been able to stream much because I haven't been able to stream at all for a while because it's too hot. And now I've got this set up so I can do the AC so I can stream, but it is still difficult and I have to run the AC to do it. So if people don't donate during the stream, then it's not worth it to me. Like it's not worth the cost for time and fuel to run the AC, etc. And some days I'm running it anyway, so it's whatever. But it also, you know, it's like it's heat and it's that up until that point when I stopped streaming when it got too hot, my streams I wasn't really getting very many donations during the streams during especially a critical time. But there were a few people that really came through and like that's why I'm doing good now. But yeah, it's if you want me to keep streaming, then get down with the kickdown. That's what I'm trying to say. And I've been doing shorts as well too, which gets me more followers, but it doesn't really make me any money. So it's like I'm making commercials for myself basically. How much do you need? I can use as much money as there is. Like, I'm good without it, but I'm better with it. So, you know, I'm running a library that serves the community of Slab City, and it's also like a public outreach. So, like, I'm just trying to make ends meet for me. It costs like 15, 20 bucks a day to run the generator. If I'm like, I said 10 to 15 bucks the other day, but I think it's probably more like, yeah, like 15 bucks or so. And I'm going to be doing a lot of construction projects. I'm also trying to raise a few $1,000s for a battery bank so that I don't have to run my generator, which will save money, but it's going to cost more money to save money, you know what I mean? But yeah, if y'all want to get down with the kick down, it does help. And then I will want to stream more. So, you know, vote with your dollar, I guess. Ooh, there might be another rip. I'm starting to be like kind of stoned actually. I did like a very weed heavy spliff. Yeah. That's why my eyes are a little pink. Just a little bit. Corn, will you have a StreamYard panel on your live in the future? I don't know what that is. Hi, what's up, Sim? I really wish that my shit was loading. Wait, hold on. No, that was a glitch. It was showing me what I had before. Man, I think I've had like, I mean, I have 52 people here in chat. I've been streaming for 2 hours and only 2 people have kicked down. One here in Super Chat and the other one on the PayPal. That's crazy. All right, I'm not taking any more questions. I'm fucking done. Yeah. All right, I'll see y'all later. If you want to see me come back, go ahead and find the links in the description. If I didn't add them yet, I'll add them right now. Hit the like, share, subscribe, and comment in the comment section because that's good for the algorithm and shit. Have conversations, ask questions about off-grid living, and I will see you all later. All right, take it easy, folks.